Ready, but my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises, you ain't stopping this. Cross my shit, you'll be knocked unconscious, bitch. That's the consequence, I got this, I will not quit. Man, I'm on it, honest, I'm gonna launch quick, then I'm gone. It's just a matter of time before I'm over the climb and moving under my prime. Just quit my 9 to 5, I'm rocking, and they watching, cause it's shocking. Dropping all these top 10 songs, so stopping. It's time to live my life, it's time to live, not die.
What is up, people? So let's get this in. So last stream, I thought it was a pretty damn good idea, you know, going through it and trying to figure out if can you actually prove a flat earth. Is it possible? Unfortunately, I don't see it being possible. I don't see how it would work. Now, you could believe science is fake. You can believe that a few observations that your senses probably aren't going to be that reliable on are going to give you, but you know, to each their own. There are things we can still prove or show as evidence, is a better way of putting it, that will produce evidence for everyone to see where we live. And to me, it's kind of odd that some people aren't willing to even objectively look at what we're giving them. Now, you can assume that maybe flat Earth isn't a thing. I mean, let's keep it real. There's no evidence. There's no photo evidence. There's no video evidence that would depict anything that would give us a good idea of a flat Earth. A lot of the explanations for flat Earth don't make any sense, in that they're not what we observe. Now, there's a select few that will give you an argument like, hey, what if it could be this? And those arguments are more than valid. Why? Because everyone should be able to have an idea of where they live, interpret it their own way. But there's one thing we gotta do, and we have to do without bias. We have to look at that evidence. We have to put the pieces to the puzzle together and stand back and look at what we get. Now, when you first find out that there are people that believe it's a flat Earth, and you think you have a good idea of where we live, you think you're going to debunk it right away. What ends up happening is you kind of start learning all the holes, all the things that science explains is an issue with giving an answer to. And you never heard those before. And without thinking, you assume that those are valid information to decipher where we live within, the shape. And then you run with it, and you believe you're a flat earther. But what happens over a good amount of time, if you're really there to learn, if you're really there to figure out where we live, you end up learning quite a bit, and you start figuring things out. You start learning how to have a method to figuring things out inside your head, being able to see it consciously, understand how it could be possible. And once that happens, what you end up doing is you start making observations, and you start seeing the world around you. You start seeing what you observe in detail. And once you start doing that, and you understand what you're actually looking at and the different things that could vary that explanation, and what you come to is the reality that everything that we see, every actual evidence that we put forth, shows that we actually live on a globe, not a flat Earth. Now, we can talk about the different conspiracies that go on Earth. We can talk about all the different shady things that the government's doing when it comes to fossil fuels and the geoengineering and the questionable shootings that happen. But none of those things actually prove, what shape we live on. So if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it in different sections. Let's talk about the hoaxes. Let's talk about the conspiracy theories that we all believe are going on. But let's not mix the two. Because we can use science regardless of if you want to say they lie or not. Because if you believe they lie, then you should be coming up with all this evidence for how they lie, not just they do. Because again, science is set up for everybody to debunk it. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is there's people who want to call themselves flat earthers, but the reality of it is to consider yourself a flat earther, don't you actually have to have evidence for being a flat earther? Now, it's not even a bad thing, because being a globe denier is exactly what science wants you to be. Science wants you to scrutinize everything they do and see if maybe there's a chance they're wrong. But what happens is you're just coming forth with evidence that we already knew, because science themselves have put that out there into the world. So maybe that some amateurs or someone who is very interested in the situation would look into it a little bit more. And maybe, just maybe in, 20, 30 years, maybe even 100 years, that maybe someone will figure out one of those phenomena that they could not figure out today. And that is exactly what science wants. So they put it out there. Now, bringing that forth isn't flat earth evidence. Bringing that forth isn't enough to crush the globe. Because, again, the science that tells us it is a globe is the same science that put it in that put that information in a book or in a publication or in a website that they made on their website that says, damn, we can't figure out why so-and-so does this. And then all you've done is copied and pasted it and came forth and said, hey, this is why it's not a globe. But hang on. The scientist that you got that information from says it's a globe. So how does his information say it's a flat earth? So then that would mean that flat earth doesn't have an incredible scientist. So if there's no credible scientists with professional experience to do any of these tests that, not everyone can do, because honestly, not everybody can do every test needed to actually prove the shape. So any one of us, I doubt, can come on here and give us enough evidence ever to give proof of where we live. So if that's the case, we can give evidences all day, but at least we gotta, not be so biased about it from both sides. But that's cool. But then why don't we just prove the flat earth together? Now, obviously, I've heard both sides. The problem with hearing both sides is that you don't see the evidence when you're hearing both sides. So I asked, hey, show me why we live on a flat earth, because I can see, hear, and explain why we live on a globe, but I can't do that for flat earth, and I tried. I really tried. So I applaud anybody that lives on a flat earth, truly believes they live on a flat earth, to come forth with some evidence that can really push my buttons and say, hey, maybe I fucked up, not once. Not fucked up twice, but fucked up a third time. Because, hey, when you think you know the globe and you become a flat earther, that's one. But then, if it is flat, and you become a glober after that, then you fucked up 3 times, because then you got to explain why it's a flat earth and you fucked up all those times. But I don't think that's possible. See, I was thinking about this earlier, and this is pretty crazy. I got on Jose's panel, and sometimes I like to just sit there and just listen to what I'm hearing. And of course, you start listening to the ramblings of Pete Shea. Now, hey, let's get this straight. Pete Shea is one of those type of guys that you want to commit the motherfucker because you know he needs help. But he's also one of the motherfuckers that you would smoke a fucking joint with and sit on a fucking stool and listen to all motherfucking day long. So it kind of puts a problem. But I would never listen to anything that man says. I'd hear him, but I wouldn't listen. Now, I get on the panel and we start talking about acceleration and the Earth's rotation, and that man had the audacity to say that when its Earth rotates, it rotates in two different directions, meaning it changes its velocity. And I thought about it. I went, hey, what world does someone live on that could ever in their life say it changes directions? I don't know. Because I thought, how do you have a conversation with somebody who does not live in reality? Then I thought, I don't know. Because I have a conversation with people every single day that I believe don't see reality. But then I think, hey, they probably sit in the house thinking I don't live in reality. And I went, but hey, what if we're all wrong? It's not a globe. What if we're all wrong? It's not flat Earth. And we don't find out. Does that mean this argument's going to last forever? Because let's really think about this. When this all is over, what are we going to talk about? I mean, sometimes, you're sitting in a Discord server and you're having like a good conversation. Flat Earth, globe, doesn't fucking matter. Everyone's, talking about it. No arguing, just bullshitting. Like, isn't that really the time you remember? Like, how many arguments do you think you guys have gotten into with flat earthers or globers and went, hey, the fuck are we even arguing for? Because if we were both sitting in a fucking bar right now, we probably wouldn't even be talking about this. We'd probably be talking about something we saw in a sports game or some shit we saw, on the street or just bullshitting. Because, hey, we all know damn well we all don't fucking just sit there talking about the flat earth and the globe all fucking day long. I mean, I hope you don't. Now, I get it. This may be some people's lives. Some people may be engulfed in this like no other. But, hey, that's all right too. So at least you're not out doing stupid shit. You're on a computer talking shit, or you're on the computer trying to prove a false science, or you're, just trying to learn, to figure it out for yourself without being, interjecting into the conversations. Because I also realize this. There's a whole lot of people, probably the majority of people, who don't type in the chat, don't have a live stream. They just sit back and listen. And I know there's a lot of these people, because if you count the people in the chat, there's far less than there's never people the same amount of people in the chat as you see watching, or you see the uploads for it versus the comments. But, they're out there. So I also realized that no matter what, even if this argument doesn't ever end, not everyone's always going to have the information to know what's going on. So why not just keep talking? Maybe if someone falls across, one of our channels or one of our uploads for the first time and have no clue what the hell's going on, at least they'll have the good information to find out, at least a good starting point. That's kind of why I don't mind repeating stuff. That's kind of why I don't mind going over the same things. So that's why I said, hey, I welcome any flat earther to come on here. We'll talk about the same shit for the next 2 weeks. I don't care. But, hey, if we're going to do that, let's really break it down. The last few live streams have been fucking perfect for that. I've had guys on here who were both qualified and able to break something down and explain why they came to the conclusion they did. Now, one of those streams that I really enjoyed was the one with Chris, because There was no arguing. He gave me his point of view. We talked about the situation. We both came into that knowing that what we were going to talk about didn't prove where we live, but it was evidence for where we live and evidence for why we observe the things we observe. And that's the kind of thing I want to be doing. So we can keep talking, keep this an open topic thing. That's fine. I have no problem doing that at all. Matter of fact, I actually enjoy those more. But if you think you can prove we live on a flat earth, let's do that. I'm more than willing to sit here and really fucking break down whatever you bring forth. I thought that was a great idea what Dr. Bob did when we came on. He said, hey, let's prove flat earth. Fuck that, let's prove flat earth then. I think it's a globe. You think it's flat earth. There's nothing wrong with that. But why not? Let's figure it out. Now, that also means that both people have to be objective to the evidences that come forth. I understand keeping an open mind, but we also have to keep a mind on the task at hand, the reality of what we see. So that means if the information that you're giving us comes from a scientist that thinks it's a globe, does that mean that the evidence you came forth with doesn't go in your favor? Then that's just the way it is. But yeah, that's my rant. That's my rant of the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the panel up. I got the link up already. And let me know what you guys want to do. Anything you guys want to talk about. I don't care if it's flat earth or not. I don't care if it's globe. I don't care if it's politics. I don't care. Wait, kind of care. Don't want to do religion. But I think everyone likes to keep their hands away from that one. That one's kind of a touchy thing. So we'll watch ourselves on that one. But like I was saying, it doesn't matter what it is, because someone can easily come on here and say, hey, I think I have a new way of technology that would fix everything. Now, just because it's not mainstream, just because it's not what we do every single day, does that mean we should just shut them down, not listen? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But you got to know, it's more than obvious that we're going to want to make sure you know what you're talking about. We're going to want to make sure everything you say is sound. So, with that said, anybody's welcome to jump on. We don't have to talk, any Glovers. If you think you have a very good understanding of something, you're more than welcome. I'll shut the chat. I'll shut the hangout down and allow only you to speak because hey, why not? And then if you're a flat earther who wants to just have a conversation with myself and not have a bunch of Glovers on, let me know. I'll let you come on. We can talk and just kind of weed through the issues that you believe you have with the globe. How you doing, sir? Can you hear me?
Yes.
What's up? How you doing?
I'm pretty good, Sean. How about yourself?
Doing good. Doing real good.
Yes. I'm not a flat earther. I just always wanted to come on your panel. But my question to you is, first, what made you become a flat earther when you were a flat earther?
That's really okay. So what I realized is I didn't have a real good understanding of the globe. So when you sit when you sit back and you think about something and you get a faint picture in your brain of how it looks or how it would work.
Yes.
Well, I couldn't do that with a globe. So when I thought of the globe as a sphere, I went, it's not possible. I didn't make sense to me. But what happened was over the time, I really crunched the numbers, so to speak, when it comes to the information that I have now. Like I took everything in. I mean, I have endless notebooks of information, and it just hit me after 2.5 years. It was just like, okay, well, when I put this together and I put this together, different observations, And right away, it just hit me. It was like, I see how it works now. And I had to be honest with myself, and I had to realize that I was wrong for 2.5 years.
What do you think causes flat earthers to deny evidence that's right in their face?
I'd say a couple things, or a few things. Either not understanding it at all, and there's not understanding it and not caring that they don't understand. And then there's a third one that I kind of put in like a religious aspect of it. The religious one, I don't really want to touch, because that's a different, I mean, that's a whole different mindset. You know what I mean? Like, someone who believes in a God to somebody who, like myself, who doesn't believe in a God, our beliefs are different, completely different. So my view of a belief and its ration is going to be different than their belief in a ration. Not saying that, you know, either one is wrong, but you know what I mean? It's that you can't argue that once, if the belief system, which everyone is trying to run from right now, is so divided, that the argument or the discussion isn't really there.
Okay. That's something that you say, that you don't believe in God and you were a flat earther, because I mean, I know there are some flat earthers that don't believe in God, but for the most part, that's usually, even if they're not religious, they're usually believers in God, and in some shape, form, or fashion, flat earth helps to confirm to them that belief.
Yeah, so it kind of goes into your first question that I just realized that I didn't really answer to the exact. That idea that when you walk outside and you see flat, that was part of the whole conceptualizing it in my mind. So I couldn't do that in the globe in my mind, so I just assumed because I see flat, it must be. So that was what kind of pushed me into the flat earth. But when it comes to the spiritual part of it, to me personally, I don't think it matters. I don't think a creator in the shape of the earth matter. The kind of the same way I don't believe, because one of the other things that was odd, and I actually had debates with other flat earthers at the time about, was I believe in evolution.
Okay.
But I also don't believe that is there a creator and evolution are part of the same conversation. If, let's just say, there is a creator. I mean, first of all, no one knows. No one actually knows that lives on this planet right now. They can say they do, but who can really say? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But when it comes to certain things like evolution, either way, whether there is a God and he wanted it to be evolution, or there's not a God and evolution is what we see, it's still evolution. It's still what we observe.
Yes. I actually agree with that. I mean, even though, I mean, I'm a believer in the globe, I do not in no way, shape, form, or fashion have any doubt in terms of if I had to choose between flat or globe, it's no way any of the evidence that I see, empirical evidence that I can see that in any shape, form, or fashion points to a flat earth. But at the same time, I am a believer in a creator. So it's something, you know, when I see that dynamic, when I see a person that believes in a flat earth, yet they are not a believer in God. So that's something I just found out today. I didn't know you didn't believe in God.
Yeah, it's to me. I personally, I think I have a lot of respect for someone who believes in a creator in itself, not just any religion in general, because it's their belief. I've always thought about it as, who am I to have an opinion about your belief?
Exactly.
I know there are people that will say, well, they criticize this. Like, well, people are people, but I know a lot of people that are religious, and it's done fucking wonders for them. Like, they're great people because they believe in a God. Like, it's not just they believe in God, but like they actually use things from the Bible to keep themselves feeling good about themselves, and they're good people. So who's to say it's a bad thing? So, in all, to me, to each their own.
Yes. Yes. And I heard you say something, I don't know, it was within the last couple of weeks. It's about how the flat earth, certain things or concepts, they don't go together. You have to kind of like look at them individually, and you can't bring them together or combine them, because if you combine them, then it doesn't work. Do you understand what I just said?
Yeah, kind of like just different. When you compile the evidence, it should all work together still.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That was another thing that really made me realize that we lived on a globe. Because when I thought about it, and I realized that there is no real flat Earth evidence. What's being put forth, realistically, like I was saying a little while ago, is just things in science that science can't answer for the globe. And when you're doing that, all you're doing is nitpicking at the issues that the globe has. And that's fine. But then all you are really is a globe denier, which is okay too. But, let's clarify what's really happening.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I can just think of a multitude of things, but just like one thing, that no other shape really, because I've never been to a place where I see it looks like I'm looking at a sharp corner or something on the earth. So everything always looks flat. So because it looks flat, and me having an understanding that it's possible that it can be a big ball that looks flat, because like I said, I don't see any sharp edges or corners, then I wonder how can you be in the northern hemisphere and see a celestial point of rotation due north, and if you're in the southern hemisphere, can see a celestial point of rotation that is due south, and conceptualize that you're living on something other than something that's spiritual in nature. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, and that's the part I'm still trying to figure out, where that disconnect is. Because when I was a flat earther, and again, it did take a while, but I took mine step by step and really wanted to understand like a topic that I was in. But there are people that I know that have been in it for far longer than I have, and just talking to them, there are times where it gets real uncomfortable, because I don't know if the misunderstanding is that extreme, or are they just tossing out clear evidence on purpose. And the two are very distinguishable things. I mean, they mean two big, very serious situations. Are you either full of shit, or do you just not understand it? And trying to figure out which one it's not fun.
Yeah, I never even looked into this until I had two close friends of mine who I regarded as very intelligent people, and they started to believe in a flat earth. And I'm like, these are guys that I always look at as intelligent people. So that's why I even start looking into it. And I figured that if they see some legitimacy in it, then it's worth me looking into. And what I come to find is something that you alluded to earlier, is that the average person, like Bro Sanchez always say, I used to believe in the globe. Yeah, the average flat earther today used to believe in the globe. But like you said, they didn't really have an understanding of how it works.
Exactly.
Just because you believe in it doesn't mean you understand it. And so most flat earthers today, even though they were once globe believers, you know, and Sanchez exaggerates when he says, I used to ride for the globe, and, you know, come on, cut it out.
Yeah, you think you know, but you're not, especially now, you're not, you know, once you've really been around flat earth, you don't really know. You just know of it, is basically what it is. In the beginning, you know of it.
Exactly. And so, you know, it's easy, you know, especially after looking at YouTube videos, which a lot of flat earthers today has come to flat earth through looking at YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And it can be convincing. Some of the evidence can be, or what you would think is evidence, can be compelling if you do not understand how the globe works. And, you know, a lot of debates, I've been on Bro Sanchez panels, I've been on Dred's panels, I've been on even Nathan Oakley back when he first started his little debate thing, and when he was kind of like neutral. And what I found is that a lot of times the argument is based on surface things. Like you said, it looks like it's flat, so I'm gonna conclude that it is flat.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Arguments that will stem from a phenomenon that happens on Earth that science is trying to look into, and they're trying to figure out themselves. They'll use that as a globe crusher, but realistically, it's just putting sight to a phenomenon that science has already told us about. They're not discovering something that hasn't been talked about already.
Exactly. You know, I don't feel a spin, so I don't feel an emotion, so it's not moving.
And what doesn't make sense to me about that is all this, well, we don't it doesn't look like it, or you have to look up to see it. It's like, okay, but there's an explanation for this. There's an explanation for why you don't feel the spin. Why isn't the explanation valid enough to you? And if it's not valid, that's fine too, but then explain to me why it's not valid. And their explanations aren't valid themselves.
Exactly.
I mean, there has to hit a point where we stop sitting here going, the globe is bad, the globe does this, the globe doesn't do that. This is why it's not a globe. This is why it's flat. And go, what's the reality of the observations that we're seeing? Don't argue about these little nitpicky things. Let's put everything you guys have said together. Let's put everything we said with a globe together and see where the flaws are. And I'm sorry, even if you throw phenomenons into it, flat Earth does not work.
Exactly. And that's the thing, you know, it's contradictory on its face, in the sense that you're saying because it looks flat and because I don't feel any motion, then that is what it is. But then the sun looks like it's going below the horizon, but for some reason that's not what's happening. You know, so you're contradicting yourself on the face of it, because in one second you're saying you're going by because that's what it looks like, but then you're going to say, well, no, it's not going below the horizon, even though it looks like it. So you're contradicting yourself on the face.
Yeah, that's what doesn't make sense to me. Again, there's not any evidence. No one's arguing their evidence. They're arguing these mute points, observations skewed, and the realistic thing is I prefer to come at it with a very more of a respectful way of it, and not look at it as you know everyone's scamming somebody, because I don't believe that at all. The realization is that especially because I went through it, I know at no point in time was I trying to scam anybody. There was no point where I was purposely lying about anything. It just was a click that made me realize that I'm not arguing a flat Earth. I'm arguing these globe points, these phenomenons that science knows about and has put forth that doesn't make any evidence for flat Earth.
Exactly.
And it's even more frustrating because, again, like I said, I have a lot of friends that are flat earthers that I feel that need to really get a good breakdown of how things work, rather than, you know, these offsetted ideas or completely made up ideas by these other people that I believe are scammers in flat Earth. And and again, I haven't said any name under wraps. I've made it very clear to the people that I feel the way I did. Like Bro Sanchez came on the other day, and he made it seem like I was sneaking around saying this shit. Like I've been pretty vocal about how I feel about it, and a lot of things that he said really showed exactly why I feel the way I do, because I really do listen when people are talking. And what happened is at least 3 times he said, facts will not change my beliefs. And that to me is what I call a red flag. My point to him was, you will not change your narrative, because if you change your narrative, you'll fuck up your fan base. And he said, that's not true. And then within 5 seconds, he said that to me, and I went, "Wow, really? That's how you roll now." Then he told me what I was trying to explain, which, again, that whole thing was, I did the one-on-one with no moderator for the reason that it would happen. The way he acted only happens when you feel threatened. Only happens when you think that someone may have the upper hand on you, because a lot of things happened that day that I didn't even realize happened until I listened to his side of the stream, because he really did make it seem like I jumped out and he was just waiting on his panel to come on. It was like, no, hey, actually, Bro Sanchez, you're on my panel. I've been emailing him since that day. He doesn't respond, so to him it's a joke. And it really showed a lot of light on what I felt. You'd be surprised. Like, I've gotten a lot of emails with people that I know for a fact regularly watch Bro Sanchez that went, yeah, I looked into a lot of stuff that you were saying, and a lot of that stuff seems kind of funny. And it's just the reality of it. If you're really in it for truth, your narrative should change all the fucking time based on the more compiled evidence that you get. So it was almost, to me, natural that I became a glober, because the evidence put forth shows it's a globe, and I got enough. I had enough evidence to come to my conclusion. But I'm not seeing a lot of flat earthers do that, and that is frustrating.
Yes, and I mean, I'm not here to rag on Bro Sanchez, but I know that, I mean, he's intelligent enough. I mean, for example, I mean, he drug Neil deGrasse Tyson through the mud for saying pear-shaped or an oblate spheroid. And I talked to him about that, how he quote mined that. And him being a poet or a rapper, he understands, parables. He understands these things. He know how to, in his raps, I heard him rap, so I know he understands when you're using examples to describe something or to put a picture in somebody's head. Yeah. He knows this. Oh, yeah. And even though it may not have been the best of examples, he still understands that concept, but he acts like he doesn't. And then he ignores other things that were said in the same exact speech that Neil deGrasse Tyson gave when he said pear-shaped. So when you ignore that part of it, where he says, cosmically speaking, it's a perfect sphere. He says that in the same speech, but you ignore that part and dwell on the pear shape. That indicates to me that you're intentionally doing something.
Oh yeah, so I put it like this: the same way you read a book and it gives you a detailed description of a scene. A book is 1,000 pages long. Will give you see it all. But when you watch the movie, it's the book cut up into sections, because it has to put a lot of detail into a smaller window. Well, that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson has to do. He has to put, if you guys go on YouTube and you look up lectures on anything, you're going to find a lecture is about 1.5 to 3 hours long. Neil deGrasse Tyson most of the time has about a 15-minute window to explain just as much as everything science has done in the time from the last time he talked. What do you expect? He's not going to give you exact details. He's going, like you said, he's going to paint a picture in your mind so that he can rush through the information that he has to get through in that small window. What else makes it kind of odd is that they'll listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson while at the same time saying he has no idea what he's talking about. So then why would you use him saying it's a pear if you think he doesn't know what he's talking about? That's not pertinent information if you think he's a liar.
Exactly.
How you doing, Harry? Harry, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Doing real good. Just hanging out.
All right.
Yeah, I saw you guys were. I saw you were on the air. I thought I'd come hang out for a few minutes.
Awesome. Yeah, I had Dr. Bob on your last stream. That was a good one.
Yeah, I saw that. I watched it this morning.
Yeah, you did that triangulation measurements and everything.
Yeah, it doesn't work on a flat thing, does it?
It does not. And so what I'm doing is I've actually done that same thing we did, but with different locations about 5 different times now, because I really want to get an understanding of how we got to that point, like each number and each step. And I'm sorry, Flat Earth, but I'm going to use the shit out of that, and you're going to have some explaining to do, because you lose a lot of miles when you say that a plane should be traveling in a certain direction, in a certain way, in a certain time. Because if you think that the airlines are lying and they're flying slower or faster than they say, or they're going in a route that takes longer, well, unfortunately, we can measure out these miles, and they've been driven, so it's not like, only the airlines know the distances. But there's a big difference between a flat Earth path and a globe path.
Oh Lord, yeah. The further south you go, the more out of whack it gets.
Oh yeah, and it's and I wish I would have had the people. I would have known the people that I know now, like yourself, and was able to break down these different ideas in the beginning. Because then I wouldn't have just jumped to flat Earth. I would have probably stayed on that fence and been a little bit more objective to both sides. But at the time there wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot of what you would call globe flat Earth mingling. So there was drawn sides pretty much, and I got lucky. I got lucky that the flat earthers that I talked to, we all kept it cool. So I that's why I kind of had going along that respect way, because that's what I saw when I came into it, and I think that's the best way to objectively come to a conclusion.
Well, it's good to have an honest discussion, and if you can stay away from the ad hominems and all the name calling and nonsense that goes on, I'm perfectly happy to talk to anybody.
Oh yeah.
I dearly hate it and probably react poorly when people attack me for no reason. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It gets in the way of information. If at that point, you might as well stop and end it all.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you just walked into a knife fight at that point. So
yeah, that's also why I kind of want to keep it away from the debate way, because in a debate, even the viewers, everyone's drawn to sides, and it's a who's gonna win, and it's not about a who's gonna win. It's about the evidence we're trying to put forth.
Well, that's exactly the point. I mean, none of this or none of it has anything to do with debating. I mean, it is what it is. The question is, what is it? We don't need to hold a debate for that. We need to find solid evidence that proves one thing or the other. Period.
Yeah,
I think we got a lot of it personally.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, well, I know that there's a reason why there is no flat Earth model, because you cannot put, as like you said, Sean, a few points. You can't put them together and make something that you can look at and say, well, that works. You can't do it.
It doesn't work. There's almost nothing you can put together.
Exactly.
Hey, Bob, I see you.
Yeah, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, he always comes in. I see him in the chat every once in a while. I'm like, oh, there he is. I know, like the last 2 streams, he came in a little bit late, like right as I was ending it, and they were like, "Damn."
How long you guys been going?
Just about 45 minutes. I'm not going to do like a too long of one. I got maybe another 40 minutes, and then I got to go pick up my son. So today's not going to be the longest of them, but figured I skipped yesterday, so need to get on today at least.
Well, I'll need a nap in another 40 minutes anyway.
Well, that's the plan, because I got to pick up my son, and then hopefully I can get a good half-hour nap in. I'm really eager for that one.
Jump in, Bob. Uh-oh.
And that was the thing, because he also gave me a great idea, and if I would think he'd probably run with it a lot better. That the idea of proving a flat Earth, you know, we can argue back and forth, but why not stop arguing and really look at the claims of a flat earther and really break it down and see if it's even possible? Because when we did that, that's when we came to the conclusion that even with how plain, you know, a flight path looks, it is the way it is. Distances are the way they are, and they all work on a globe, not a flat Earth. He talked about, you know, the optics, or how far could you see on a flat Earth, and why we can't see. And if the evidence that a flat earther was putting forth they felt was that credible, then you would think that they would be on here talking exactly like that, breaking it down, showing us, and it working, and it making sense. But it's not happening. And it's not possible to happen, in my opinion.
Well, you speaking about flights, and in the Southern Hemisphere, we know that each airport has their own codes, which within that code, it has the latitude and longitude of that particular airport. And when you look at southern airports, and the further you go south in those major continents, you will find, like with Africa and South America, for example, you will find that the continents begin to converge the further you go south. So they come closer together. And if the earth were flat, you can't have the convergence happening both north and south, you know?
Yeah.
No, they try to force that to happen, and that's how you get Australia being 2.5 times as wide as it actually is. That's why the distances across those oceans become so enormous. The thing is just fanning out as it goes and getting worse and worse, further and further out of whack. And there's no way to explain that. They make a lot of noise about the, no flights from in the Southern Hemisphere, which isn't true. There are some, not that many, but they conveniently ignore, and they always do this, that that's all commercially driven. Airlines don't just fly airplanes from point A to point B for the hell of it. They do that because they can sell tickets.
Exactly.
I mean, if they can't find a whole lot of people wanting to go from Johannesburg to Rio de Janeiro, they're just not going to fly the damn airplane. They can take them someplace else and then make the connections. It's really commercial. But the ones they complain about over the South Pole, you got to look at the enormous distances involved there. I mean, there are conceivably a few routes that you could take that would actually take you over the pole from a major city to another major city. But now you got another problem. The only thing you can fly legally, I mean, there's an element of safety involved here. A two-engine airplane can't embark on a 14-hour flight over the water without some way, some emergency place to go to. And you start over that end of the earth, there is no emergency place, nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that now you need a 4-engine plane like a 747 or a one of the really big ones.
Yeah, it was crazy because when the unfortunate thing of planes don't use fuel hoax thing came out, and I dove right into debunking the crap out of that. I found out, and I've tried to explain to a lot of people, and I didn't know it at the time, but that basically when a plane does its flight plan, like the FAA actually requires a certain amount of fuel for different situations and different scenarios that could happen in a flight. So the idea that they would go extra, further than people say, or a plane can't hold a full amount of fuel, but realistically they're not, because obviously, just like if you're driving an Uber car, you have to think about what you're making versus what you're using in your car. Well, they got to think about the same thing in a plane. So to think that they're going out of their way to fool anybody it's a business. They're going to try to save money. The first thing they do is go, well, first of all, we're not going to tell people it's going to take 3 hours if it only is an hour, because we only want to use an hour's worth of fuel.
No doubt.
Yeah, you've got to have when you're in a flight plan, you got to identify an emergency airport, a secondary airport, and you've got to be able to fly to your destination, then fly to your alternate, and still be able to fly another 45 minutes.
Yep.
You've got to be able to do that. You can't and you best not get caught without that much fuel on board.
Yeah, there's I think there was at least five different scenario percentages of fuel you have to have, or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's at least 3 or 4. I know that. Where it's 5% for taxiing, or 10. It's 20% is for like you're saying, alternate or emergency site, and 20% is for taxing the second airfield. But they all it's all calculated, and they have to have that amount.
Yeah, you got to do that. You got to have an alternate airport. Even if you take off, you're just going to fly 200 miles from here. It may seem okay, and the weather reports may be fine, and the destination, the airport may be perfect right now. But in the middle of the summertime, you have no idea 2 hours from now what that's going to be. And the FAA can't, the Weather Service can't tell us. So what happens if you get there and there's a thunderstorm going on over that airport and you can't wait? And you've got to go to your alternate.
Yep.
And there's a reason why they make you file an alternate in the first place, which is what happens if somewhere along the line you lose your radios.
Yep.
They need to know where the hell you're going to go.
Or unfortunately, if you go down, you're going to want them to know where to look.
That's pretty handy, yeah.
Yeah, and when you really think about the real scenario of it all, that's the main one. That's the most important. You go down, you want them to find you as fast as possible. Well, they need to know where you were going first. And, you get somewhere, they got to at least have an idea.
Oh yeah, I can guarantee you, I've spent way too many hours of my life flying around over these hills in the Smoky Mountains, looking for the crash site of somebody that was not on a flight plan, just flying VFR, and never showed up at their destination, and you got no idea where to start. I mean, you know where you left from, and you know what his destination was, but you have no idea exactly how he was planning on getting there.
Yeah, it's people don't really understand. People don't truly understand what a needle in a haystack really means in like the forest or the mountains or in a desert. You really don't understand how big that shit is. There are areas in the United States you could fly for hours and not see one piece of civilization. Hours. And people don't realize that still exists. and,
Oh, heck yeah, it does.
and anything can happen in between there, and it is almost impossible to even search every area.
Well, people don't get a real good feel for it because most of the time they're flying in a commercial jet at 35,000 feet looking down, and things look a lot different than when you get down there 1,000 feet above the treetops. Then you start to realize how huge this is.
Oh yeah, well, I do a lot of backpacking. So when you've hiked 13 miles in a day, you really realize how small you are and how big the wilderness is.
Oh, yeah.
and I've only done about since I started backpacking, I've only done probably about 400, 500 miles worth of trails, and I haven't hit a bit of a fraction of the trails that the completion of a couple of the trails I want to be doing. So that just is in a sense how big this world, the United States is, because the trail I'm talking about is the PCT, which is a 2,100 mile trail. I've only done 325 miles of that, and I plan to do it in sections. But yeah, I mean, you can only do it at so many miles at a time, and it is huge.
Well, that's why the damn thing looks so flat.
Yeah. It's perspective.
The dreaded perspective.
Yeah, and it's in trying to explain why I know it's a globe. It still, to me, is like an experiment of what's going on, because I still try to see how, even with information given, people could still think it's flat. The whole thing. I mean, just the idea that you are so small on this planet should make you realize that your first observation of it looks flat is not good enough. That's the whole reason for science and evidence, because one's perception does not conclude a conclusion.
Well, I think that the entire concept is one of the things that drives a lot of people to the flat earth and religious aspects of the whole thing. They don't like the idea that we truly are pretty insignificant in the universe. I mean, any one of us, we're not that important. And that bothers people.
Oh yeah, big time.
But what the hell, I don't try to be important anymore, so once I stopped trying to be important, it was all fine.
Oh yeah, you got just less stress, less to worry about.
Exactly.
Then it's just, when the hustle and bustle of hurry up and get this done stops, then you can really sit back and look at what's going on. When you have, a little bit of time for it. I'm trying to find a website that I wanted everyone to look at. Let me see, hang on. I think this is it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I talked about this in one of the other live streams. Let me go put this over here. Okay, so this is it's called Hyperphysics. It's probably one of the best websites I've seen in a long time. Let me go ahead and share it with you guys so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Let's share it this way. Yeah, that way so you guys can see it. It's called Hyperphysics, and it's probably the best website I've seen that actually breaks things down. Like, it's really a breakdown of it. It's not like let me see. I'm trying to click on it so I can actually control it. 1 second. I don't know why it's not working. Oh, well, anyway, basically, you guys you'll be able to like, if you want to look into how it says light and vision on there. Well, that if you click on that, it ends up going to atmospheric optics and different mirages, rainbows, just everything you can think of. It really it really fucking breaks everything down. Matter of fact, what I'm gonna do is, as we speak, I'm gonna go to the website and just show you so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. But I like it a lot. I think it's definitely worth checking it out. Hang on, give me 1 second. How you doing, sir?
Not too bad, man. I'm between patients, so I thought I'd say hi.
How you doing?
Hello, Bob.
Hey, guys.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pull up that that website I was just talking about. There you go. Go ahead and share it with you guys. Yeah, because this site, I like this site a lot because I was looking at it and we were doing all that when I was doing that talk with Chris about how he thinks that, you know, a lot of the stuff that's observed plays a part of atmospheric optics. And when I found this and I saw how it breaks down everything, I thought it would be perfect for any situation. This thing, it has almost any topic you can think of in it, and then it has this like that brainstorm, the think tank thing on it. I like it a lot. And this was kind of playing in the part to like what we were talking about, Dr. Bob, with the way you see things and how much of a factor they actually play in different atmospheric effects.
And a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I guarantee you could probably look through this thing for 3 or 4 days and still not get through everything. But I mean, you name it, it has thermodynamics, everything on here.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. A lot of those little bubbles, it looks like just a little bubble. And when you actually take a course in that particular topic, thermodynamics, for instance, that is a full year.
Oh yeah.
In college.
Well, think about it now. Now, I mean, with the internet these days, or think about this, in 50 years, I mean, I guarantee people are going to be like getting their PhDs and shit like that straight on the internet. Imagine that. Doing all, just not even going into school, just have everything done on the internet, sitting at their table, and be qualified to be doing the shit too. It's gonna be crazy. I mean, I'm in my 30s and I just figured out how to like do video editing and like logo editing and stuff. And my son's 11 and he showed me how to use a program the other day. And I was like, man, kids these days, once they get to my age, they're going to be experts in shit that, you know, we had no clue about when we were their age.
You know what it is with kids? And I really believe this. I watched both of my daughters when they were growing up. They have no inhibitions. They have no fear. They're not afraid of things that don't seem to make any sense at all. I remember when they were little, this is many, many years ago, when Super Mario was out and all that stuff. And I'd sit and watch my oldest daughter have poor little Mario walking down a tunnel, and she'd have him jumping up and down, just beating the crap out of his head on the ceiling. And I would sit there and think, my God, my child is brain damaged. What is wrong with her? I mean, why do you want to continue beating your head against the ceiling? And then all of a sudden, the thing would go bloop, you know, and some points would come up. Like, damn, I would never think to do that. How does she know to do that? And it's because they're just not afraid of it. They don't care. It doesn't make any sense. They just try it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... I've realized now when people when I was a kid, I used to remember when it was like, man, like those old people, they're just so disconnected. And now I'm like, fuck, I'm disconnected. I don't get it. I don't understand. This is like, it's like, I get happy that I can fix my computer when something goes wrong with it. But I never realized that I just didn't know anything about computers, and the fact that there are 10 through 15-year-olds who just know so much more than me about a computer, and they're the ones that, you know, they're going to be taking over for everything. So everything's got to be, you know, computer based in the future.
Oh yeah, it's already that way to a great extent, I think.
Oh well, it has to be. Otherwise, then what are they going to do? I mean, 90% of the companies that are out there right now are almost 100% based, you know, advertise wise on the internet. You know, that's where everyone is now.
Oh heck yeah.
I mean, I'd say 80% of the people I know don't watch TV. I mean, when you think about it, you know, the internet is nowadays TV, but at the same time, I mean, everyone is here. They're not, you know, not here, but everyone is on the internet. They're not sitting in front of a TV anymore or watching traditional TV anymore.
Well, that's one of the reasons why a lot of the new young millionaires and billionaires are those who have started businesses online, from YouTube to people who like Evan Siegel and them who started Snapchat. You know, I mean, online is, I mean, I looked at a movie last night, The Mule with Clint Eastwood, and, you know, he was, you know, dealing in horticulture, and he went out of business and they foreclosed on his business, and, you know, he contributed it to the internet because he was old school and the internet is considered new school.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you nowadays, you know, back in the day, if you needed like a second job or something, I mean, you'd be footing it, putting in applications, or now, you know, a few years ago, you were on Craigslist. Nowadays, I mean, you could probably almost have a full profession doing like freelance stuff on the internet, or I mean, there are hundreds of companies out there that are hiring people to work at home and on the internet. I mean, they're incentivizing people to work at home now.
No doubt. I work from home.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most logical thing. I mean, so like I was talking to, because what I do on I have for my computer, like, so say like right now I decided I want to go to my garage, but I got, you know, obviously I got the stream and everything going. Well, I have the desktop remote. I can literally just go on my tablet and bring up my everything I'm looking at on my desktop and control it on my laptop or my tablet, and you can do that from work. My girl, she's been offered 1,000 times to be able to just, you know, work from home and use the remote systems. I mean, realistically, like I was saying, you know, what will it be like? Well, I guarantee you in 100 years, 90% of the workforce will be from home. And I agree with it. I mean, imagine that. Think about it. I think a lot of the jobs that we have can be done from home. And if that were the case, then daycare and childcare goes down. We actually get to save some fucking money. And, you know, childcare, oh my God. Before I had my son, I thought it was a joke. Like, people were just like, you know, whining about little things. But daycare, in some cases, is almost more expensive than rent.
Wow, yeah, that's something.
I couldn't get it through my brain, and luckily, you know, I was in a profession, and at the point in my profession, I was lucky enough that my ex at the time, she was able to stay home, so we didn't have to deal with it. But that was one of the biggest factors to my ex staying at home. It was like I think it was at the time, this was 11 years ago, it was like $800 a month for childcare, like at a daycare for my son before he started school. And it was like, what's the point? Like, she was going to work just to be paying daycare. And it was like, it doesn't make sense. But if she could have worked from home and taken care of my son, she would have loved to do that. then it would have made sense.
Well, I mean, there's so many opportunities out here to start your own thing from home. I have 3 businesses that I work from home, and you know, because I deal with Macy's. That's one of the businesses I deal with, and they closed over 100 brick and mortar stores last year, and they're planning to close more because everything is online now.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at Amazon and eBay.
Amazon, Jeff Bezos, no doubt.
They're fucking huge. What's up, Ali B? How you doing, sir? Oh, what's up, Chris?
Oh, Chris.
How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing real good, sir. How are you?
Not so bad. How's the volume?
Perfect.
Oh, good stuff. All right. How's things?
Chris was just there. Yeah, just hanging out, just rambling. I felt since I missed yesterday, I'd get on a little bit earlier before I had to go pick up my son. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, what's up? What's the topic?
We're just rambling. Anything goes. Just so everyone know, I have either 10 minutes or I have 40 minutes, but I won't know for another 10 minutes. So anything goes.
Yeah, I'm in my car. I'm heading home, but I'd join in.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries. We're just rambling. Nothing, no specific topic.
I've got a question for the pilot. What's the pilot guy's name? What's your name again?
I'm Harry. How you doing, Allie?
Oh, it's Harry. How you doing, mate? We were talking the other night.
Yeah.
I've got just a question for you. Do you know when you first found out about the flat Earth? Do you know the next time? I don't know how often you fly, but see the next time you went up flying, did you not even have a look? And because it does look pretty flat up that height, did you not?
Oh, it does. Yeah, it absolutely does.
So what kept you? That's the question. That's what I was interested in. So what actually sort of what made you think, right, I can see it's flat there and there's no curvature? What actually made you think, that's stupid, it's a ball? What actually made you still think it was a ball, or just totally dismiss it? I don't know if you just dismissed it or not, but I was just wondering, as a pilot, after seeing it was flat, not just...
Quite honest, to be honest about it, most people don't really ever get a chance to get the panoramic view that you get when you're sitting up in the front seat of the airplane, where you can see the entire horizon. Usually you're just looking out the side window, and it's kind of limited. I have always thought from, say 15 or 20,000 feet on up, that I can detect the curvature. It has always looked a little bit curved to me. Now, everybody's different. The next guy's going to say, nah, that thing looks flat. Flat, damn it, it's flat. But to me, it has always, from a reasonable altitude, it has always looked slightly curved. And the higher you go, the more it looks that way.
Could that not be? Could there be a possibility that could be to do with the shape of the windows?
Well, yeah, maybe.
I'm just saying possibly. I'm not saying obviously. It's not that. But I was just because I was really curious because I remember we had the conversation and I heard you talking there, and I was like, oh, that's right. He's a pilot, and I was putting myself in the position. I was thinking, right, if I was a pilot, what would I think? Although. Do you know what I mean? There's more to being a pilot education, but I'm just saying if I, and I saw it as flat, so it was just interesting just to think. And even with the windows, I would even think, because I know when you look through, especially curved or bent windows, just the fact that refracted light that comes in there at the edges, it will kind of make it look bent, just because that's the properties of light anyway.
Oh,
so
sure.
It could be a possibility
It absolutely
it's
can.
still an interesting subject anyway. So.
We're kind of accustomed to that. Our automobile windshields do the same thing. But when you get toward the edges, things start to be curved a little bit. Things that aren't curved start to be curved. So I think we're a little bit accustomed to looking to that. But I'll tell you honestly, for me, I know very well that I can't navigate from point A to point B if I try to do it on that flat model. It will not work. The headings won't work. So whether what I see out the windscreen, whether I see something that seems like it's a little curved or not, I know the direction I'm going, and I know how I arrived at the flight plan, and I know I can't duplicate that on a flat Earth. It's just not possible.
Okay, but right, okay, you're assuming that there's an actual flat Earth model, but anyway. If talking about navigating, there's an interesting fact about India. That's weird. They position themselves on the world map in a different coordinate system. They use a different coordinate system to position themselves on the actual their so-called globe. And they actually keep the coordinates a secret. They actually won't. They won't. Which I find strange anyway. But it's like because because as you know, America, what's the name of that satellite? The WGS, whatever it is. You know, the global positioning. They have to adjust. For the fact that on the map, the degrees and longitude and latitude, they have to adjust for the coordinates are India, and that's why in the Pakistan and India war, this is just a fun fact. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This was just something I was reading about when India got geodetic surveys, the Great Survey of India. But anyway, I found out that during the India-Pakistan war, there was loads of missiles missing their targets by like 50 to 100 miles because of the fact is the coordinates system that the Pakistanis were using is different from the Indian. So they were aiming at targets that were actually, they weren't there. It's quite a strange how they won't actually release the coordinates. Sorry.
So actually, I have to take off. Two things can either happen. So I can either keep you guys the Hangout open. If you guys are in the middle of a good discussion, I could just keep recording it. Or if you guys are done, I can just end it, and then we'll just do this another time. And I will leave the Hangout open, and you guys are still free to go talk.
I say leave it open if you don't mind. If you have a way to close it later or something.
Yeah, well, I'll just leave it open, and I won't record it. That way you guys can just talk freely amongst yourselves.
All right, Sean, we'll have a good night then.
Yeah, I apologize. I knew I wouldn't be able to be on too long. That's why I kind of went on a little bit earlier. If I can get a chance, I'll come back on in probably a couple hours.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, that works.
All right. I apologize, guys.
No worries, Sean. Don't worry. You did say.
Again, I'm going to keep the Hangout open, and everything will be good to go still. All right.
We'll take care.
Have a good night, mate.
You too. Yeah, so all right, guys. I apologize. Yeah, like I said, I gotta take off, but I'll be back in a little bit. If I get a chance, I'll go back on. But other than that, I gotta go. But again, thank you guys for being here. I just really think that everybody should question everything that they hear, but at the same time be objective to it. It just doesn't make sense not to. But like I said, you can only, one step at a time.
But my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises. You ain't stopping this, cross my shit, you'll be knocked unconscious, bitch. That's the consequence, I got this, I will not quit. Man, I'm on it, honest. I'm gonna launch quick, then I'm gone. It's just a matter of time before I'm over the climb and moving under my prime. Just quit my 9 to 5, I'm rocking, and they watching, cause it's shocking. Dropping all these top 10 songs, so stopping. It's time to live my life, it's time to live, not die. Wish